Mark Warner of Virginia. He's the vice chair and top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee. And during his opening statements at yesterday's hearing with the administration's intel heads, he said the situation was mind-boggling and demonstrates sloppy, careless, incompetent behavior. Senator, do these text messages that are now released by The Atlantic, by Jeffrey's reporting, answer some of the questions that you couldn't get answers to yesterday?
Well, it sure answers the question that the two witnesses, I believe, lied when they said, oh, nothing to see here, nothing classified. One of the witnesses tried to hedge a little bit later about, well, it may be defense classified, but you would have to be an idiot not to understand what Jeffrey just laid out is at a huge classification level, that if it had fallen into enemy hands and the Houthis had been able to realign their offenses, American lives could be lost. And the reason why I say it's a pattern, you know, the first 2 weeks of the administration, they inadvertently released the names of 200 new CIA agents. Those individuals, if their identities are known, they can't be put into the field now. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars of training beyond screwing up those people's lives. There's not a day that goes by that you guys don't report another one of the Doge boys in one of our classified agencies giving up personal information. This is a pattern of sloppiness and incompetence that I think reflects this administration's approach, at least towards sensitive information.
And Jeffrey, I wonder what you make when you hear Senator Warner saying those two top officials lied. What questions does it raise in your mind, given what you received, what you're reporting? For me, it's how many other group chats are out there on Signal.
Right. I'd like to be invited to more of these groups where allegedly nothing happens. What it raises for me, well, a number of things. I think the semantic games are fascinating here. I believe it was Tulsi Gabbard who said, well, maybe there's defense classified information, but not intelligence classified information. But it's all one thing. I mean, it's a combined effort. When the U.S. engages in kinetic action against an enemy, obviously many intelligence agencies are involved in helping the Defense Department and the combatant commanders understand what they're up against. It's all one thing. It's all one operation. There are many, many different branches of the United States government combining efforts. So there's leakage from silo to silo. It's not like, well, that's the Air Force's problem, that's the Navy's problem, that's the CIA's problem. It's one big attack.
Right.
Fed. And can I just interrupt there? Can I? Yeah. Could I just add that, to add to what Jeffrey said, it's not like you suddenly say, well, this isn't CIA sourced, so I don't have to keep it secret. I mean, that is so does not pass the smell test. I mean, this is the Signalgate fiasco, I guess, but it just, it's crazy. And the effect, we talked about the effect on American soldiers, but the effect on our allies, this is all based on trust relationships. I mean, I get America first, but it shouldn't be America alone. And where this crowd is taking us is to an America that is going to be less safe because they don't keep information secret, less safe because our allies are not going to be trusting us, less safe on the economy because an example that didn't make much news, one of our commercial space companies was delivering photos to Ukraine, Maxar. Well, that contract got arbitrarily put on hold. What European country or foreign company is going to ever buy American space services? So this level of incompetence is going to ripple through the economy. It's going to ripple through our place in the world, and it's just inexcusable.
So it's the top of the hour, and if you're just joining us, we are following breaking news right now about the massive Trump administration security breach. The Atlantic and editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg has released the texts on the group chat on the commercial app, Signal, that basically lays out war plans, an imminent war plan. And Jonathan Lemire, the key text is from the defense secretary, is it not?
Yeah, we have seen in the last 24 hours, and I wrote about this last night, the Trump administration philosophy here is to attack the messenger, to attack Jeffrey, to defame, to just try to discredit his reporting at The Atlantic. Well, as Jeffrey just outlined for us, the internal debates there at the magazine about whether to release these texts or not. We heard from administration officials saying they were not classified. The decision was made, not lightly, as Jeff just said, to release them. And I'm just going to read a couple here now that we're past the top of the hour. The key ones being from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, on the day in question, 11:44 Eastern, saying weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM, we are a go for mission launch. At 12:15, about a half hour later, saying F-18s launch, declaring this the first strike package. At 1:45, saying the trigger-based F-15 first strike window starts. The target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time. Also suggesting that strike drones are launching. And then a short time later, at 14:15, strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop. And then, as a postscript, Joe, a short time later, we hear from the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, confirming with some sort of verification, some sort of other asset, that this strike was successful. But to Jeff's point of a moment ago, these texts appeared in this group chat, which he was invited, and there was a window there where these planes were in the air. Well, and if these texts have fallen in the wrong hands, lives would be in danger.
Yeah, I mean, in the air, but even worse than that, the exact timing of the launch of those jets, American jet fighters, actually stated the mission, the exact time that the mission was a go, stated the target in place where they're expecting the target to be, confirmed on Signal the success of the strikes and the continuation of the mission, all written here. Jeffrey, please add to this, and then I would love the senator to tell us in what universe every single one of these items wouldn't be the most highly classified of information for the federal government.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing. I mean, what we're reacting to here in part is Trump administration officials saying that there's nothing sensitive in this chat. It doesn't amount to a war plan or an attack plan or secret information or sensitive information. Obviously, a plain reading of many of these texts, including and especially Pete Hegseth's text. I mean, if the timing of a combat mission, an imminently launched combat mission, is not sensitive government information, I simply don't know what is. And as I've said before, you know, I was the passive recipient of this. I was put into this text chain. Couldn't quite believe that I'm finding out something that obviously if the Houthis or the Iranians or others knew, it would at minimum give them time to escape. At maximum, it would give them time to prepare for the American attack. And remember, the attack was conducted, according to Pete Hegseth in these chats, by piloted American aircraft. This was not merely drones and cruise missiles. And so, you put this kind of information out and you're possibly endangering the people who work for Pete Hegseth, pilots. Right. So I mean, the whole thing is very interesting, and we felt obviously that since the administration was saying nothing to see here, at a certain point you have to let the citizens of America just look and understand what's going on.
Yeah. So Jonathan, I'd love for you to talk to the ranking member of the Senate Intel Committee and go through each one of those items you just listed individually, and let's find out if those would in fact be classified.
Okay, so Senator, I'm going to read from you, starting with the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth's text in this group chat that Jeffrey was a part of. And as Joe said, if you could, when I read each item, let us know if you believe that would be classified or not. First, 11:44 a.m. Eastern that time. Weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM, we are a go for mission launch.
classified.
Okay, next, 12:15 Eastern, F-18s launch, declaring this first strike package.
Obviously classified. If the bad guys knew, that would be harmful to the mission.
Okay, keep going. 13:45, trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time, all caps. Also, strike drones launch MQ-9s.
Anybody who didn't realize or wouldn't put classified, if this was a test, you'd get a failing grade and you would not be admitted into, the intelligence community or the military.
We'll do just a couple more. 14:15, strike drones on target. This is all caps. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop.
Good Lord.
Pending earlier trigger-based targets.
Good Lord.
The old Russian KGB would give their arm and a leg to try to get that information real time.
And then at 15:36, F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launched.
Again, let's go to the consequences. There's got to be consequences. Pete Hegseth either didn't realize he was on signal, which is not a classified channel. And, I know some of the folks, Witkoff, I guess, was in Russia. Rule number one, don't take anything to Russia. Gabbard was on a plane or near a plane in Southeast Asia. There are classified communication channels there. So violation number one, he should have never put this on any non-classified channel. Number two, if he or anyone else is saying there's nothing to see here, it is a lie, and I believe deserves firing. And then number three, to instead of acknowledge or have any humility to acknowledge a mistake, he lashes out at Jeffrey Goldberg. I know that is typical modus operandi for this Trump administration, but at what point, and I'm saying this mostly to my Republican friends who I know care deeply about our national security, at what point will this just be too much and you find your voice and join me and others in saying people responsible for this fiasco gotta go?
We should note the Wall Street Journal editorial board deemed that Witkoff's presence in Moscow perhaps the most disturbing part of all this. Senator,
let me read that really quickly.
Sure.
Witkoff was receiving these messages on the commercial app while in Moscow. This is security malpractice and adds to the building perception that Mr. Witkoff is out of his depth in dealing with world crises. That's from the Wall Street Journal editorial page. Of course, the National Review this morning, an editorial saying that Hegseth has to go.